your favorite non-traditional platform to advertise on?
Grindr. I had built a relationship with some Grindr reps at that point, and for my personalized vitamin brand, talked about the headline of, and they're like, we love it, that's gonna smash. There was a time where I was thinking about just becoming like a Grindr advertising agency because the success rate on that platform is like insane. It is marketing 101, but it's a constant reminder that a lot of people need to hear that people don't want to be sold. They want to be solved. Solve a problem. And a simple question that you could ask yourself is like, why doesn't somebody who visits my website or my product buy this?
What are the typical big mistakes that your clients that have reached 6-7 figures a month are doing?
I can think of a couple, but one that I see more common is...
Hey everyone, we're at Two Ecomm Experts podcast, and this is season 3, episode 1, and I have Pivko with me, a great digital marketer that is going to share with us lots of what he's doing and lots of what we need to be knowing today in 2025 in order to be actually successful. And as we discussed prior to the recording, this is going to be a completely no BS podcast, and that's completely forbidden for us, so that we can make it from marketers for marketers. And yes, Adam, thank you for accepting the invitation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And for everybody listening, he means it. Like, I have no pre-scripted questions. I have no insight into what we're talking about. We're just gonna shoot it and hope to help you.
So Adam, for the people that still don't know who you are, what can you tell them in 2 sentences about you? Why should they be listening to you?
I've been in the e-commerce and performance marketing world for 15 years. And for the vast majority of it, I've been servicing merchants, helping them make more money, save more money, and grow. But finally also took the leap of faith to launch my own brand and go direct to consumer. So I think I have a wide variety of insights, not only from my own firsthand learnings, but also on behalf of working with a lot of clients. So performance marketing.
So we're coming from the absolute same background. I also have my own agency and I have my own DTC brands, and I think that having this experience from a wider range is really interesting. You're helping both your clients more.
It as like I'm in the trenches with clients,
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so since you have this vast experience from the two sides of the business, what would you say coming into 2025 has been the biggest lesson for you that you're going to apply for both your agency and for your e-com brand?
I think that there needs to be a constant pressure on brands to understand their customers better. There's a lot of ways you can do it. There's ways you can do it easily. There's ways you can do it way more intensively, but the better you understand your customers, the better you can speak to them, the better you can solve their problems. And I don't think that enough brands truly understand what motivates and drives their customers. And a simple question that you could ask yourself is like, why doesn't somebody who visits my website or my product buy this? Like, why do I think people are not buying this product? And if you answer that question, a lot of times people focus on increasing conversion rate, but I think it's a lot more about reducing abandonment rate. It's a larger piece to go after. So I don't know. I think understanding your customers better and making a concerted effort to do so would be my number one thing that you could spend time on right now that's going to move the needle for you quickly in this year.
That's a really interesting one, because the more mature I'm getting into and becoming in the e-com world, it's been 8 years already, the more I'm getting back to the fundamentals. And now you're saying something that's like marketing 101, like understand your customer. And I think that a lot of people are saying this, but in practice, it's quite hard to actually know what this means. So what are some practical steps that any e-com brand can take in order to understand their customers actually better? And what do you do in that case?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of review farming. So really diving in, taking all of your review data, dumping it into some tool, even if it's as simple as ChatGPT. But if you have a lot of reviews, I would probably recommend, a different type of AI tool. Understand, the most common sentiments, the most common pain points, the most common things that you're solving for a customer. Again, it is marketing 101, but it's a constant reminder that a lot of people need to hear that people in general don't want to be sold. They want to be solved. Solve a problem. And the sooner that you can test and formulate different problems that your product, your service, your offering can solve, the sooner you'll be able to resonate with multiple different pockets of customers. And that's what I think is really important. There's a marketing cliche that's like the riches are in the niches kind of thing. And a lot of people misinterpret that and they think, if I just narrow down to one thing, I'm going to be rich. And sure, you can make some money doing that way, but the way the statement actually is riches in the niches, plural. So it's about understanding multiple pockets that you can niche down to with the same product, with the same service, that really enables you to broaden the market you're capable of going after and ultimately making what I believe to be a lot of money. So it's a combination of those two things. Now, in terms of tactically understanding that, I think there are ways to just really hypothesize a problem that you can solve and test your way into it. You can do it cheaply with paid ads. You can test multiple different problems and see which problem is resonating or delivering the best results or lowest CPMs or highest click-through rates or the most purchases. Alongside of that, just understanding the market, go looking at your competitors, go use a competitor's Amazon reviews and understand what problems those people are having if you don't have enough data. There's no excuse in this day and age with the amount of information available to you and the amount of even free tools available to you to not do this type of research.
I just believe that the more resources we're having available, the harder it's becoming to actually pick what's right, what's wrong. Like you're getting so much information, and at the end of the day, you're like paralyzing yourself from this.
Analysis paralysis. Yeah. Again, if you think about it in terms of a hypothesis that you want to test and you narrow down what type of inputs you're giving to formulate this hypothesis, I think that there's ways to do this more succinctly than thinking about getting all the information on the internet and making an average best decision. There's another thing about being average that I want to harp on. Or even the term best practice. Generally speaking, like best practices, they're designed, when you hear the term best practice, it's like designed to work for the most amount of people. Now, if you think about like a bell curve, the most amount of people would be average. And like, I don't want to be average. Average in America means, I don't know, dying of heart disease and probably divorced. I want to be legendary. I want to be outstanding. I want to be outside of that bell curve on the right-hand side, crushing it. So I do like to iterate from best practices and whatever they may be, take them to the next level as much as possible. But I don't think that necessarily needs to be analysis paralysis, if you will.
And if we touch base on this, in order to become like a legend, to have your ads to be on the legendary level, to have your landing pages on the legendary level, your creatives, everything that you're doing. In order to do that, what are, let's say, 2 to 3 practical steps that any brand can do today in 2025 that can help them achieve that in order to understand their customers better?
I think a lot of brands struggle with a term I would refer to as like funnel blindness, in that they're constantly looking at their own pages. They're constantly looking at their own creative and what they have available to them and trying to think like iteration only. I think that there's merit to iteration and A/B testing, and when I say A/B testing, I mean like you're testing one variable on a page and you're running an ample amount of traffic to make it statistically significant. And there's definitely 100% merit in that, especially as you start to get a lot of volume. But until you're at that phase, if you're passing that $50,000 a month or $100,000 a month in sales, you have the budget to take some big swings. And I think taking some big swings backed by data and having an outside perspective, whether it's a friend or like somebody in the industry who knows what the hell they're talking about, not your mother being like, wow, you have a beautiful website. I am so proud of you. Having a real third party perspective of your offer, your funnel, your ads, your creative, your general messaging. Like, I think that needs to happen more. There are great communities out there that if you just post and say, hey, I'm looking for feedback on this page, like hammer me, my ego is put in the filing cabinet, like give me the real goods. I think that is something you could do for free. That's awesome. You're going to get incredible insight and a wide variety of swings that you could literally step up to the plate and go at bat with. So I would say leverage communities to answer that question.
That's really interesting. And where do you find those communities? Like, we're coming from one of those communities. That's how we actually met. But like, where do you find those?
I think it's kind of like expand your network. You could attend conferences and you'll be invited to other sub communities. There are Facebook groups, there are LinkedIn communities, there are definitely awesome Slack communities, which are free to join for the most part. There are some that are paid. If you're on a higher level, if you're at the 8-9 figure brand, potentially you should be paying for some of those more elite communities to have access to, people who are at your or beyond your level and can help you take the next step. But until you're there, for anybody out there, there are definitely great communities that you can join and do a post and ask for help. If you're always asking for help and you're not trying to sell something in these communities, you're going to do just fine.
You're working a lot in the DTC market space. For the people, just to understand more about your work, what are the typical services that you're offering or the types of problems that you're solving for brands?
Yeah, and from an agency perspective, not talking about my personal brand, if you will, our focus is really, and we just try to stay in our lane. Like, we're a small boutique team. We're not trying to be massive. So for us, it's really about just stay where we know, and what we know is cold customer acquisition. So that's ads, landing pages, and media buying.
Great. And having said that, the reason why I ask you, because I want to touch base on this so that the audience knows better what you're doing. From your experience, when you're comparing, let's say, 2 or 3 years ago and today, 2 or 3 years ago, the ads were much cheaper, it was much more simpler to attract new customers into the funnel. What has really changed since then? And what are the typical problems that you're solving today for your customers compared to 2020, 2021?
Yeah, I'll give you like the basic quick answer right off the bat, which is obviously, and like I think everybody listening probably already knows this, but it's like your creative does your targeting now. So, that's one aspect of like getting in front of the right people. You're leveraging these machine learning platforms, but you're feeding it, these assets that help communicate who the right individual is. And I think everybody knows that. And I think it's basic of an answer. And I don't want to end with just that. What I will say is that the average consumer about who you're targeting has now interfaced with what I would refer to as bad Shopify stores or bad e-commerce landing pages that hurt trust. And chances are have probably even experienced some type of scam or ripoff or knockoff product that they now have gained this general perception of needing a little bit more trust and credibility through the post-ad click customer experience. So what I mean by that is I really think it's important for every brand to think about the true perception that their post ad click, their website, their landing page, their PDP, their catalog, their homepage, their whatever. I'm definitely way preferential towards landing pages, but what impression is that really giving off? Does it look like some janky Shopify store that's super clear and has 3 sections and not enough information and not clear terms and not clear FAQs, not flaunting social proof, not building credibility and trust to say, hey, others love us, you likely will too, then you're really missing the mark. The other thing with regards to landing pages that I think really helps is when you figure out what angles from your ad creative are working, it's so important to keep that like ad to landing page congruency. So like if you're saying, hey, this helps you fall asleep and stay asleep longer, and then the landing page headline comes as like, wake up refreshed, or like, what, it's just not, it's just that little quick jar. It creates that sense of like, oh, is this the right thing? As opposed to literally taking almost that winning headline and putting it front and center, being like, this is how you buy it. Like, this is how you're going to feel. So I really like the concept of ad to lander congruency. And I don't think that that's always the case.
What are the typical big mistakes that your clients that have already reached 6-7 figures a month are doing?
I think that there's a combination that I think that I can think of a couple, but one that I see more common is people thinking about things as like, I need to increase my AOV, or I need to increase my conversion rate, as opposed to thinking about things as I need to increase my revenue per user. So like, as an example of that, sometimes reducing price increases conversion rate more so than like increasing average order value does to increasing revenue per user. Meanwhile, the same thing could happen. Maybe you increase price, average order value goes up, conversion rate comes down, but your revenue per user goes way up. Like, it's just really about thinking about one step higher of those stats. And sure, you can use some of those other ones as indicators, key performance indicators, but in terms of like what your goal setting is, a lot of people are focused on these dashboards and having all these different stats thrown at them. I'm a bigger fan, and there was just like an awesome chat in one of our communities about transitioning from dashboards to scorecards.
Yeah.
And thinking about, I loved that presentation. Like, wow, oh yeah, what a home run. And then, thinking about scorecards, but like those metrics are really important in terms of like what you're hyper focused on. So I think at that 6-7 figure mark, it's time to start leveling up and thinking about how the business all works together to improve revenue per user. I think that's a major tactic.
Are there any low-hanging fruits typically for those businesses that, like when you're doing your audit, when you're checking all the behind the scenes and you're like sure that this thing, when I touch it a little bit and boom, in 3 to 6 months, it's going to have a big impact on the brand? What's typically that?
Upselling. And the number one thing you should test if you're not currently upselling through the checkout flow, or, when somebody even adds to cart, hitting them with an offer right away. I think your entry into upselling should be sell more of the same. If somebody just bought sunglasses, sell them an additional pair of sunglasses right then and there. You will have your eyes widened into how much more of an opportunity there is by just doing that. And I don't mean, when I say upselling, the common Shopify implementation, if I think about like apparel or something like that, it's like, buy this shirt, we recommend buying these pants. It's like, no, like that's a harder sell than like complete the outfit. Sure, maybe if there's a trend in your business of people buying shirts and pants, then sure, fine. By all means, sell them the same color codes. But like, buy one more shirt, like you just sold them on that shirt. Why try to sell them something completely different with no information, with just a button click? Like, sell them one more, the exact same size they just bought in a different color, or as a backup. Or sell them one size bigger and say, hey, return for a store credit, whichever size doesn't fit as well. Like, it's just, there's so much opportunity on that side of the business that I think upselling should be a focus for sure.
Quite interesting, because everyone is talking that, hey, you need to sell something cheaper for the upsell so that you don't lose the initial purchase. But that's opposite to what you say, and it's actually opposite to what we're doing in our business. Where actually our upsells are, you buy one of our products, get a second one with a really good discount because you obviously just loved this product and we want to sell you more of it.
And so you're not selling anything. You're selling based on price, and they just made a decision based on price. Like it's a no-brainer.
we reached the purchase point. You just purchased your products. Maybe you upsell your customers, and that's their first order. That's your cold audience that just purchased for the first time. What are the questions, and when are you asking the questions so that you start to understand them better?
That's a great question. I think it really depends on the product, first and foremost, before I just like generically answer that. Like it's easy to get a great quick review and kind of hacky way to get higher rated reviews right when somebody checks out, be like, how was your shopping experience? And I usually click 5 stars, and you can jack up 5-star reviews that way if you're looking to build reviews. So I'll just
You
call it
wanna,
that.
if let's put it this way. I, as a marketer, want to understand my customers better, and I want to make sure that I craft my next creatives, landing pages, angles, whatever, based on real data from their experience. When do I start asking them questions? And what are some really good questions to ask? Should it be directly at the checkout after the purchase has been completed, and I ask them some stuff, why they purchased, from where they purchased, etc.? Or should I start implementing something in the flows from my Klaviyo or whatever I'm using?
Yeah. I don't think every customer's opinion is truly what matters. Like if I were to think about that, I would want to segment my customer base and particularly focus on my biggest, best customers. And I would definitely start there. Even if it is hand-to-hand combat of a founder calling a customer, I think that there's something really meaningful about that conversation, or emailing. Like imagine you got on the phone with 5 out of 10 of your best lifelong customers. The amount of insight you'll get from those people is ultimately the most valuable. But then, of course, you compare that and you do something a little bit broader. But generally speaking, if you want real data, like that you can actually act on, they must have had your product, been able to use it, been able to try it, been able to experience the benefits, been able to have an end result. Maybe that's 45 days for a supplement company. Maybe that's 10 days for an e-commerce gadget. Maybe that's 2 weeks or 3 weeks for an apparel brand. It really depends on what product you're selling before I were to,
That's really interesting, because what you're saying is that we need to be talking to the people that have purchased the most or have been the loyal the most. Isn't it actually important to understand why people are not becoming loyal in the first place? Because those that became loyal, we're all ready for them doing what we should be doing. What about the ones that...
It's not about doing what you should be doing. It's about doing what got them so you can get more like them. That's how I like to think about it.
Okay.
Like if I could get, instead of 5% of my customers being my absolute best, if I could get 10% of them to being my absolute best, is like, how do I do that? So yeah, I don't know. I think that that's, it's also easiest data, because it's not like mass marketing a survey or creating a sequence to like engage. And it's like, yeah, take 30 minutes and go hand-to-hand combat, reaching out and engage.
What would be some good questions in regards to that? Like, what would you ask them?
I could dig something up and get you more information on that. We've done it a couple different ways. I definitely like a mix of qualification and like quantification kind of questions. I really do like open-ended questions. Generally speaking, I'm a huge fan of a marketing technique called the why behind the why. So asking them like, why did you purchase this in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever answer they ask, whatever answer they give, you say, why is that so important to you? So, again, let's take sunglasses, or I don't know, whatever product. I'm looking at your shelf. Like, why would somebody buy a picture frame? Because they want it to hold a family memory. Why is that family memory, being presented so important to that? that's a great, like, you flip that around, that is a marketing angle that you should test right away. So yeah, like, depending on what goals you're looking to achieve and what you're looking to solve by understanding your customers better, whether it's a retention tactic that you're looking to improve or a new customer acquisition tactic that you're looking to unlock, you know, wherever the problem is in your business or the KPI that you're focused on, don't try to make every single call solve all the problems. Focus it in on where you want that support. And I would encourage that, maybe a mix of like two, 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 questions, and 2 open-ended or 3 open-ended. Let them ramble, let them talk, encourage them to just keep talking. And I would recommend having some AI tool on the phone call, recording all that, transcribing that, and you'll be able to use that data in many, many different ways.
That's super interesting. And I wanted to bring you to the next question here. In our previous season, I spoke with Charles Titchener from our community, and he was hey, he's amazing. It was a really fun episode. But what he was preaching, he was literally preaching that. What he was preaching was that basically right now, your cold offer shouldn't be even profitable. What you should be just looking into is the lifetime value of your customers and guaranteeing that your lifetime value is that. Are you seeing this becoming really the trend for most of your clients or for most of the businesses that you're seeing, or it's still quite possible to be very profitable on your first purchase?
It's definitely still totally possible to be profitable on your first purchase. But if that's, again, it depends. It depends on the business. It depends on the brand. Do you have more to sell? Can they, is your product consumable? Do you have multiple products? There's a lot more factors than just saying every business should be thinking about cost to acquire versus lifetime value. I do think that it's really important. If you're in a subscription model business or a consumable business, or you have a lot of different SKUs, I do think it's important to think about cost to acquire versus lifetime value. But there are definitely tactics and there are definitely ways with the right creative and the right platforms and the right channels and the right strategy to be upfront customer profitable.
What do you think is like the downside to be of doing that?
Profitable on that first transaction. Like, they just can't afford not to be. So yeah, like I get the pressure to be profitable early, and then you can start investing in lifetime value profitability versus cost to acquire.
Let's put you in a hypothetical situation here. For the people that are newer into the e-com world, or maybe they were just like us that started off with an agency and now they want to transition into doing something to the D2C space. They've just produced they've just come up with their product or products. What are the absolute fundamental places to really look at in order to do their product market fit testing? What should they be looking at? Should they be looking at mostly their landing pages, or they should be looking at just crafting the best ads possible, or finding the right influencers, or where should be the 3, 4, 5 main points that if they don't do well, then they fucked up their basically testing?
If you're testing a new product for product market fit and getting a business, you're willing to take this product out back and shoot it in the head if it doesn't work. I think it really starts from the top of the funnel and work your way down. There are ways to assess the performance of angles and creatives and text around an ad. And I think that Meta is still the dominant platform that you get the most accurate data of what audiences want, what the Meta platform is rewarding and telling you by data signals that they want more of this or that this is going to work. So I would lean into really compartmentalizing hypotheses on the Meta media buying platform. And when I say media buying for a business like this, it's not about profitability on your first ad, on your first $100 spent on Meta.
Mm-hmm.
What you should think about and how I would encourage people to think about is that you're buying data from Meta. And as long as you are putting in the right hypotheses frameworks for how you're buying that day or that week or that month, then you're going to get even more meaningful data that you can take action on. So for example, if I have I don't know, a calculator, a random product, you know, I would test three to five different angles for selling a calculator and see which ones are getting the cheapest CPMs, which means that the Meta platform generally favors this. Which ones are driving the most click-throughs, which means customers actually care about solving this problem. Which ones, like there's just data points throughout the way that I'm not talking about massive amounts of spend. I'm talking about like $100, $200. Generally speaking, I like to say like an ad test should be 3 times average order value. So whatever the product is going for, 3 times the cost of the product. If all you're selling is just that one product, that's how much you should be devoting to an ad test, if you will. Just as a ballpark to give people an idea of what they should be spending. Some people spend $12 for a $100 product and they're like, it's not working. And you're like, not gonna.
It's never really hard to. It's really hard to get it. Yeah.
So, when you're testing product market fit, buy data from Meta and make sure that you're buying data in a structured way that's giving you real insight into where you can reinvest, where you can find further unlocks. And then as you're getting people and more statistically significant clicks and data to your pages, if your drop-off rate, if your bounce rate is massive, you're above the fold sucks. If your scroll rate is low, think about reorganizing some of those sections below the fold. If your add to cart rate is low, make a better offer. If your add to cart to conversion rate, double check your payment methods, double check your checkout, make sure everything's functioning properly. Like, just do your due diligence, but you can't work on checkout until you've had people coming through the top. So
Yeah.
as you're starting to assess market fit for a new entrepreneur, I would say start as high as you possibly can in the funnel and work your way down as you get more data through it.
And lately, what I've seen, especially with newer brands that are starting in a big market, let's say just like the US is a huge market in that regard, it's quite competitive. You can get hit by a $100 CPM easily nowadays. What do you do as a marketer? You just spend, let's say, $500 and your CPM is 100. You've basically shown your ad to just 5,000 people, and obviously you can't do much with that. Are there any practical ways that you can tackle this?
Yes. The answer is always yes. There's ways to battle against CPM, but generally speaking, I would test more creative diversity. So if all of your 3 creatives are all statics, I would try testing a video. If everything that you have is focused on one angle, I would test a different angle. What also hurts CPMs, I find, is that it's that post ad click experience. So like, if you say, for example, 2,000 plus 5-star reviews in an ad, and then they land on your website and you have 1,000 reviews on this product showing first thing on the page, it's like you've immediately damaged so much trust in that consumer's journey that it's going to directly impact your CPMs. So, that quick bounce, Facebook knows, like they know that somebody just saw you're above the fold and bounced. All of that data, everything that's happening in your customer journeys is also impacting your CPMs.
Okay, so far we have completely understanding your customers is hugely important, and it's quite important to make sure that you're focusing on getting from your best customers just to multiply them. Don't go just very hugely broad to one size fits all, but finding your absolute best customers and why they love you and what they are really caring about, so that you can make the next creatives, your next copywriting, next landing pages to be fitting this. When you're testing out, make sure that you have 3 times your AUV as testing budget, because you're buying data, and that's quite important to really, as an easy low-hanging fruit is typically to do upselling, and that upselling can be your the same product, and that's way easier because you've already convinced the person to do that. And yeah, and that Meta is still the absolute most important part of your D2C ad spend.
At least for testing.
Okay. What do you do after Meta? Like, that's a huge, like, I am very Meta oriented. My business at the moment is completely relying 100% on Meta. Google was never profitable for us. We tested out TikTok and it really sucked. Just brought up a bunch of people that will never be purchasing from us because our AUV is $200. And yeah, basically nobody gave a shit about it. What are some platforms, in your opinion, that people should be looking at the moment?
Right after Facebook, I definitely think Google's super important, because what ends up happening on Facebook is people are Googling your brand name, your product, they're going to do research. And if you're not controlling and curating that customer journey, particularly in brand search, as opposed to broad match or, specific term matching, definitely brand search Google, you'll see a halo effect of Facebook ad spend resulting in brand search traffic on Google. So I'd say that that's like extremely low hanging fruit, very high return on ads spend for that channel. And you should expect that, especially in terms of brand search.
Mhm.
Above and beyond, of course, mentioning the Googles of the world, there are definitely marketplaces that certain products should find a home on. For example, the Amazons or Walmarts of the world. I think that those are definitely worth. Again, there's a halo effect from all the ad spend you're doing. There's ways to, beef up your stats on those platforms by sending paid media traffic from one platform to another. There's a lot of ways to support growth if you've already dialed in the Metas and Googles of the world. I'd be remiss if I wasn't talking about AppLovin. AppLovin is taking the world by storm. If you're unfamiliar, it's a publicly traded stock that you can go look at their trajectory. Essentially, the story goes like this. For the longest time, they were supporting in-app advertising. So imagine your mother completes a game in Candy Crush, completes a level in Candy Crush, and now is shown an ad. For the longest time, AppLovin was running ads that were only for other apps that you could download. Basically, if you've ever played a mobile game at all, or a tablet game or whatever, you've probably seen something where it's like they show you an ad, a demo of that game, and then maybe even they give you like this interactive version of that game for like 15 or 20 seconds after that ad, before you can skip and go back to playing your game. Basically what happened is in, I think, October of 2024, AppLovin's like, hey, let's try e-commerce offers and ads in this same ad inventory. Turns out that was a wildly good idea. And they have massive amounts of inventory. Something like, last time I checked, was like 140 million daily active users, and likely seeing multiple ads per each session. Like, just imagine somebody gaming for like an hour and a half. What's also really interesting about it is like, it's not the same interruption as it is on social. Like on social, they're in control. They're consuming their own data. They can just X out. They can leave your stuff so quick. When you interrupt a game and they're like anxiously waiting to get back to their game, they're interacting as fast as they possibly can with your content. So there's these two chances to hook them. The one is the first video hook or static hook that you offer. And then there's something called an end card, which is like another version of a forced 3 to 5 second hook that they have to watch before they can skip and go back to their game. You literally have two, sorry, there's a ambulance going by. You literally have two like lines in the water on each ad to get them to come in. And it's just a remarkably different acting and performing platform that I think is truly resemblance of, advertising on Meta in 2015 or 2013. So yeah, I think it's one of those resources where if you've already dialed in and you have a clear understanding and you're spending profitably on Meta and you really understand performance marketing, taking some of those best performing Meta creatives and dumping them into a platform like AppLovin can really help you unlock a new channel, customers that you've probably not seen before that are, a wildly effective and more cost-effective platform than the likes of others out there.
That's quite interesting. What would you say are if you have a client that's asking like if they're fitting AppLovin, what would you tell them that the requirements for them should be or would be?
To my understanding, there's still a requirement to get on the AppLovin platform of currently spending $20,000 per day on Meta. So that's, give or take 500, 600K a month in ad spend.
That's quite a big ad spend for like lots of.
It's quite a bit. They're definitely focused on cherry picking the bigger fish with a higher likelihood of success before rolling it out in a self-serve fashion. So they are devoting managed service resources to this project, and you get like kind of this team assigned to your account when you get onboarded. It's not self-serve. So
Yeah.
until it is self-serve, I think that's the metric that they're looking for. But generally speaking, in terms of like how aggressive you should push over to AppLovin, I think if your offer can afford like an $80 CPA,
Yeah.
you're probably in a pretty good shape to be running on AppLovin. And ideally, I would say, I think cost to consumer offers of again, this is a mobile app, quick. You want that, really direct response-y kind of approach. You want to make it easy to buy. You don't want them leaving the game and coming shopping through all your collection or navigating 17 clicks for them to even purchase something. You want to put an offer, a landing page, high converting, one choice right in front of them, right there on the spot.
I was actually looking into a case study last week that lots of brands are currently using, but I think it's gonna be stopped by Shopify. That when you click on the ad, you already have the product in your add to cart, and you're just at checkout with some bullet points of like why this product is great, but you already have it in cart, and you just fill in your information and you have it, so that they can make it as smooth as possible. So they don't care if the person has loved the product on the ad. You just don't make them go through a 3 to 4 step process. Have you ever tested something like that out, or do you think that that's a good idea?
There are a lot of things in the Shopify ecosystem in particular that's advantageous to that. For example, if you have the shop app running and you're capturing literally every single person who visits your site's data, and you can immediately email, remarket them, and retarget them, I think there's value in that type of, thinking about it as a more full funnel tactic, as opposed to just a high converting tactic. If you don't have your remarketing or cart abandonment sequences in place and a real strong strategy there, then I think you're missing the mark. But there is definitely something to that model for certain platforms. Generally speaking, I think if you have to educate a consumer, it generally costs more to acquire a customer. But there are ways to do that very succinctly if you're really leaning into the end result, like that why behind the why of why a customer is going to purchase. If you can nail those things and even succinctly do it as 3 or 5 bullet points on a checkout page, fully designed, all power to you. And by all means, go test that tactic.
Okay, that's quite interesting. And when we're talking about landing pages, there's still this debate along marketers that some are saying that the ordinary product pages you're having is your best weapon. But from a person who is designing lots of landing pages, what would you say that the ratio between testing of landing pages and your product page should be for an e-com brand? How much they should be devoting to just building their typical standard product page and doing testing on the site with landings?
Again, I would say it depends on the scenario, and it depends how big of a problem your product solves. If you can communicate everything about that product up front and center on a PDP, then great, go do that. But if what you're requiring is a homepage journey to a collections page to a PDP, you haven't crafted an offer that you can independently present as a landing page. You're giving way too much choice. It's the whole shop now versus buy now debate. Generally speaking, I don't love the shop now. Shop now to me means come look through all my windows. Come look at my bestsellers. Come look at all my collections. And maybe something will catch your eye that you want to buy. As opposed to, it's like, this is what I know you should buy. This is going to give you the best experience possible with my brand and my product. And this is what's going to get you to come back and purchase more or spend more with me. I want to put my best foot forward. Buy this now. So I love the buy this now approach. You know, I would call it like a sleep on the first date kind of advertiser. Like it's, you get the action or you don't put in too much more effort kind of thing. I don't know. I'm more excited. I'm more excited by that sales approach. So I do love the use of landers. Is there a place for PDPs? The answer is yes. You know, PDPs and homepage journeys are fantastic for customers who are coming back to purchase again. And if you have any of that resemblance in your business, you should absolutely be investing in your homepage and PDP because you're not in control of that customer coming back and purchasing. They're just going to from your website and curate their own journey to navigate their own products and go buy more. So you should make it easy for customers to come back and purchase again. But if you're hyper-focused on cold customer acquisition or customers don't come back and buy, or you have a certain product that somebody only needs to buy once because it has a lifetime warranty, like probably heavier focus on landing pages and offers.
Quite interesting in that regard. What would you say that it's like absolutely mandatory must to have in those landing pages? And what would be do you believe that there's something like a universal structure that a landing page should be following, or that everything should be completely customized to the experience of the people?
Let's start with the must-haves, and then we can talk about structure and stuff like that. I'm a huge fan of like a really simple marketing 101 framework called the AIDA principle, AIDA.
Yeah.
Attention, interest, desire, action. And if I were to translate that for everybody, attention is the combination. And when I say AIDA framework, what I'm talking about is specifically above the fold on your website, mobile and desktop. Above the fold, in case you're unfamiliar, is everything that the customer sees on your website without the need to click or scroll. It is first impression. It's like the top of a newspaper before they even unfold the newspaper. It's where it comes from. Attention, interest, desire, action. Attention is the combination of a headline and a hero image. If you're not capturing attention, if you're not earning the respect of that potential customer to read your sub-headline, which is your interest statement, then you're missing a mark. And interest is why somebody should care, why they should purchase from you, why you're different, why. If you're missing telling them that, you're not curating that journey well at all. Desire comes in many forms, but most common for an e-commerce brand would be like ratings, reviews, social proof, press, celebrity endorsement, whatever. Any one of those or a combination of those above the fold visibly that says, hey, other people trust us, you should too, is super, super important. And I will
Sorry for breaking you here. So you would like to have the AIDA formula inside like your absolute first impression to have all four of them together?
Yes.
Okay, that's crucial here. Because most of the people will be following the structure from top to bottom, one by one to slowly build this.
The reason why I think all four elements should be present there is because if you don't, then the user is controlling their own scroll through the page and can scroll fast or slow and read or not, and basically be searching for whatever element you missed out on answering.
So what would be the action? Because I stopped you there.
If you think about a typical P&P page, it's usually like this heavy product image.
Yeah.
Probably some thumbnails, maybe even a headline, but it's probably just the name of the product.
Yeah, it's a product name. Yeah, it's just a product name.
generic trash product name,
Yeah.
not conveying the end result, the benefit. Then below that, they're giving, purchase options like color. It's like, it's too early. It's too early to be asking them to configure a product that they don't even know what the hell it does or what problem it's going to solve. So when I think about cold customer and the education you can do, it's really about getting to see themselves already owning this product, already using this product, and how they feel. That's the best education you can offer.
I think that's what I can a little bit conclude from what I have. My brand, we started it in 2020, and I remember that our cost per clicks back then on Meta were like 40 to 50 cents. And we could just afford for the people to do whatever they want to and to feel whatever they want to because it was cheap. But now I'm selling at the same price. Yet my cost per clicks are typically one over $1.50, $1.60, sometimes even $2 to just get on a click. And I think that what you've mentioned multiple times today is that you have to control your customer, and you have to control them what they're seeing when they're Googling you. You have to control what they're thinking of you when for example, they've added to cart but didn't purchase, and they get your flows. You need to control exactly what they're feeling, exactly what they're thinking about you, and you need to be controlling on your landing page what's the first impression, and that even if you don't do that, then you're basically leaving them to do whatever they want to, and that's you missing out on lots of purchases on basically what you want to get across to them. And with the ads becoming much more expensive nowadays, it's just not bringing you profit anymore.
You have to maximize on every click you're getting.
Okay, we started off we started out with the landing page. We have the AIDA formula, which is fantastic, and I love using it, especially for copywriting. But we started off from the top. Then what do we do?
I think it's important to pick a copywriting framework in terms of the page flow that makes a lot of sense for the product. Now, again, my expertise and where I've spent the vast majority of my career is in direct-to-consumer, physical goods, a lot of consumables, a lot of problem-solving gadgets, like really thinking about that. So one of my go-to frameworks is problem, agitate, solution frameworks. So that's literally first section below the fold is leaning into what problems you're solving. The next section, why those problems are so painful. The next section, how your product solves them. Then you can go into a wide variety of different other categories, like perhaps there's ingredients, perhaps there's a guarantee, perhaps there's an us versus them and competitors that you want to highlight. Definitely do a testimonial spotlight. Pick 3 to 5 testimonials, whether they're video or text, put them front and center. I would also recommend some type of either section that expands or just readily available that they can scroll through of full reviews. People do love to do full review research. They like to see the bad stuff. They like to see the good stuff. Nobody believes a 5-star review.
No.
Nobody believes that somebody has only 5-star reviews. There are too many on the internet for everybody to have 5-star reviews. I generally believe 4.8 performs better than 5 stars. So there's that. I think it's really important to have a strong offer. And I think it's important to have an FAQ section at the bottom of a landing page that is just squashing objections that customers have.
When do you introduce the add to cart button and the whole buy me now place? Where do you introduce that? From the get-go?
Yeah, we're in the strategy that we like, the strategy for the pages we design that we really like that seem to be continuously performing for us is CTAs everywhere, but CTAs magnet link down to the second last section on the page, which is an offer presentation section. So, and what can I do for a pro?
For an offer presentation, what does it look like for you? Because that sounds amazing, sounds really cool. But like, what's offer presentation in most of your cases?
We've done a lot of different things in this section, but maybe it's a 3-choice offer where you're trying to maximize AOV. Maybe it's only one choice. Buy this bundle. This is the only thing I'm selling you. Here's a sick deal. Here's why it's so great. Here's a cost savings. Here's a reaffirmation of our social proof. All of it right there. Alternatively, something else that we've been testing a lot lately and finding success with is like, imagine that first section of a typical PDP page, but down in that offer section. So that's where you have another hero image with thumbnail scrollable, and then like your 1, 2, 3 offers stacked right there. So all of those different combinations, but we don't like to add to cart right at the top. Like basically, all the CTAs are not add to cart. They're, claim this offer, get this offer, save 50%, click, and then it takes them to the offer.
Fantastic.
That's a strategy we've been finding a lot of success with.
What are so-called CRO experts or agencies or just e-com brands overdoing or doing too much in landing pages that when you see it and you're like, okay, they just did too much. What's typically that breaking point?
Well, not enough would be social proof, just for the record. Too much text.
Too much telling with not showing.
Too much text. It's not that an image can, it's not that a picture can convey 1,000 words. It's like, I guess for an older audience, a lot of text still works, but
It does.
generally
For
speaking,
older audience, that's like the thing.
yeah, generally speaking, I think if somebody has to spend like 15 minutes on your page to understand what it is you're selling, it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You want to make your information concise. You want to make your information easily understood. You could even run it through a tool like Hemingway app and make sure that you're writing at like an 8th grade reading level or less. But you asked me something different, I think. I think you asked me like, what are brands who are split testing and getting aggressively doing too much of? I would say, there's a tactic for getting statistically significant data, but there's ways to test multiple things in an A/B test fashion on the same traffic flow. So, some people will do like an A/B test. Let's say they're A/B testing a headline on their PDP page. They can do that while at the same time A/B test their first upsell, while at the same time A/B test something on checkout, while at the same time A/B test something on the post-checkout experience thank you page. Like, you can just maximize the amount of data that you're generating from each test, as opposed to really just like narrowing down to one A/B. I also think like people are trying to A/B their way to victory when A/B is that slight chip away to optimization. If you want to A/B to victory, to like, you've got to take big swings, in my opinion. And it's trying multivariate at that level that I think unlocks bigger swings.
That's a big thing because every single time when I've worked with CRO guys, when I need a really big swing, they're offering me to change the add to cart button color, and that's not the thing to really A/B test them. Like if I need to increase my sales by like twice with the same amount of people that are entering, then I need something completely different to be happening in my store in order to get that. And when you're doing landing pages, do you like certain apps, or do you like to hard code stuff, or what do you do?
Yeah. We like to keep it bare bones and simple because we've been doing it a long time and we don't want to like adjust. So we're typically like Photoshop for design. And then once the design is ready, we're coding straight to HTML or dumping HTML into Figma, or, just delivering a PSD for some other front-end developer to code out. We don't need the fancy builder tools. Like, I see a place for them. I think some of them are great. I would give a shout out to like Unbounce as being one of them. I think Figma is great. But when you're designing in the fashion that we do, that's very start from scratch from each brand, that's well researched, that's well strategized. Not all, like, we don't produce the same page over and over and over again. Like, we're customizing, it's personalized to each brand. So we're not using templates. And I think that makes our work unique. So we're definitely a Photoshop to HTML kind of lander.
Nice. Okay, and I have a few blitz questions here that I like to ask. What is your absolute favorite Shopify app that everyone should be using?
Damn, I have too many vendors that I'm friends with to say. I think. Yeah, honestly, I'm not comfortable. I think that'll put me in a bad place.
Okay.
I think that there are some free split testing tools. There's definitely some great upselling tools that you should definitely have. There's some great data collection tools that I think are worth implementing. Yeah, I'll keep it there. We'll keep it broad.
Okay. Your favorite non-traditional platform to advertise on?
Grindr.
You mentioned the story. Do you wanna share a little bit about about this story? It was absolutely fantastic. Something that I like you.
Yeah. There was a time where I was thinking about just becoming like a Grindr advertising agency because the success rate on that platform is like insane. We had this like pheromone product brand that we were working with, and their claim to fame was that they help women attract men. And we were doing really well on TikTok and Facebook with them, making all those types of ads and landing pages. And one afternoon in a brainstorming session, we were like, let me get this straight. This attracts men. Like, have you tried a gay angle for this product? And they're like, the 3 guy founders were like, we're not gay. We don't want to offend them or anything like that. I'm like, neither am I. Let's take a crack at this. So I made a version of their landing page, which were very targeted as that demographic, and ran it by them. And they're like, oh, wow, this isn't like offensive. This is going to work. So they gave me some budget to test it out. And we did some testing on Grindr. And it absolutely smashed. The headline "Honey for Bears" did really, really well. And if you're familiar with like the audience and the terminology and what that associates with, it's very on point. But I also have like for my brand, a personalized vitamin brand. And I had built a relationship with some Grindr reps at that point and talked about the headline of, for my personalized vitamin brand, of put something healthy in your mouth for once. And they're like, we love it. That's going to smash. And so on and so forth. So we've found a lot of success. You got to be edgy. You got to be on brand. You got to speak in their language. You can't be offensive. I think it's a completely viable, if you think about the general perceptions of that platform, oftentimes, not making broad generalizations, but oftentimes like dual income, no kids, or like disposable income, very health and, your personal appearance focus. Like there's just a lot of signs that you'll know pretty quickly if your product is a good fit for that type of environment. But the spending is high, the income levels are high, the exposure levels great. It's a nice interruption. There's a whole bunch of different ad packages you could buy, like full takeovers, so on and so forth. So yeah, I would suggest checking it out if you think your product's a fit for that demo.
I think that that's an amazing one that you can absolutely go for, and just to boost your creativity a little bit as a marketer or as a brand owner, just to be like, okay, what should I change in order for this to fit in the platform? And when you mentioned that to me, and I was like, oh my God, I have so many ideas right now.
Yeah, you have like a pride. You have like a pride sword.
I don't want to know how people are going to be using that, but like that's a completely different topic. But great. And from my blitz questions, what's the recent book that really changed your mind about something that you always thought that is like important for you, or that it worked this way?
Sorry, book? Is that what you said?
Yeah, book. Yeah,
Yeah, I was just reading Water in the Onion from, like, I think I don't actually have it behind me. It must be at home on my bookshelf. Without a doubt, I think Alex Hormozy's $100 million offer is totally eye-opening and makes it really easy for you to understand what crafting an offer could be like for your business. I would highly recommend that book. There are some other like really great media buyers out there. Mayor or Attila who have dropped books as well. Bruce Cran also dropped a book. He's, an incredible brain in the e-commerce space. But I love the books around, being an affiliate as well, like a real media buying super affiliate. I think that you can gain a lot of insight from that angle, from that perspective about building your own offers and brands that are going to convert like crazy. So I like those types of books. If I were to give a couple shout outs, Mayors, Attila, Bruce Cran, and $100 million offers from Alex Hormozy.
Favorite people to learn from?
Who are people to learn from?
Your favorite people to learn from?
I think Social Savannah from the ad side deserves a shout out. I think Nick Shackelford being on like brutally transparent and having so much going on and his feet and so many different in his hands and so many things with a constant creative, an agency, being on the CBD side, running his own brand. I think he's just really interesting and has a lot of insight. I think there are great communities, like the Geek Out community is really, really good. Commerce Roundtable is some really heavy hitters and performers. I think the W6 community, Workspace 6, I learn something almost every freaking day.
Absolutely. Like, that's my absolute favorite one personally, because it's very straight to the point, very simple, always. No BS. Yeah,
There's no BS, no fluff.
absolutely. None of that is there. So yeah, and your favorite podcast to follow?
I'm not like the biggest podcast guy, but I have been listening to some recently. I'll just be a basic bitch and say Joe Rogan.
Okay. Yeah, Joe is just, and the way that, like,
Two Bears, One Cave, like those guys, Hansen Gerber, Kreischer. If I listen to a podcast, it's typically not for education. It's more so like I'm walking home and I just want to giggle for a bit, like change the outcome of my day.
well, that's an interesting way to look at it. Great. If you have to give one major advice to e-com store owners in 2025, what would it be?
Instead of what, how, go why, how, what. Think about, read a sentence, a random sentence on your page, or read the start of a paragraph on your PDP page. If it says, what is it and how it works or how it's cool or whatever, and it never goes into why somebody should care, you're wrong. And if it is going into why somebody should care at the end, do yourself a favor, test it with the why in front, the how in the middle, and the what at the end. Why, how, what? Why behind the why, and flip it on its head.
Fantastic. And I think that that's a great way to wrap up today's podcast episode. And that was episode 1 of season 3. Thank you, Adam, for being our guest and kicking off the season. And looking forward to everyone's comments and remarks. And if you need to have a great landing page or just a partner in regards to your cold offering, I think that Adam is just a fantastic person that can really help you out with this. Very smart marketer, as you've seen already or heard already. And yes, make sure that 2025 is your year and every single business has something to improve on. And as we discussed last time, that's what I love about e-com and entrepreneurship in general, is that every single day I find something that I can do better in my business.
At any given second, there's a million things you could be working on to improve your business for sure. It was a pleasure being here. Love kicking the door open on season 3. So happy to be here, happy to help. I didn't do this for business or exposure. I did this to help. So if you want to reach me, hit me up. I'm not gonna plug myself. Cool. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Adam.